piece with Fernando, and his work is kind of secretly text-based. You can see how involved it was with pen and ink work, how detailed it was. But if you start looking in there, there's just a huge amount of stories and words and that sort of thing hidden inside of his pieces. So there are some others in the room that have art up not related to the book, but James Pollard has a piece up. We've got Clayton has work up in the room on the other side up here. Gary Singh back there has a photograph up back just over behind me, and I've got the text-based skateboard deck on just the other side of the wall over there too. So yeah, about a squirrel. That's true. It's a true story. Yeah. So anyways, I'd like to bring up Lydia for just a moment here and put her on the spot to tell us. Hey, can I just want Lydia to tell us a little bit about this series, because it goes back. Well, this one is in it's Mississippi, isn't it?
No, this one's completely made up.
That was completely made up.
Yeah.
Okay. The other ones, the ones in the book, are all real sites, and
I think so. Yeah, you did
look
specifically ask about the abandoned houses, which are all based in Mississippi, except for one I found in Morgan Hill, which I think has been torn down, and a friend of mine believed to be haunted, but it just smelled weird. That was.
And a bunch of them are schoolhouses, also, like abandoned schoolhouses.
I have repeated that schoolhouse several times, and it's kind of an obsession of mine. And I really enjoy going back there and revisiting it and seeing how it's faring as it decays slowly into the earth. There's nothing to be saved in this, and I find it really amazing, like how it was so useful, and now it's like kind of at rest and slowly becoming part of the forest it came from. So anyway, about the trash series.
Okay.
Should I venture into this one?
Yeah, go into describe what's going on there. Yeah.
This one, the trash series is a little bit related to the abandoned artworks, because what I find is that I define myself through my possessions a little bit, not entirely, but this is my sweater, this is my favorite pin, this is my phone, that's my Betsy Johnson handbag. And eventually those things will no longer be useful. I will no longer want them. I will no longer identify myself with them, and they will go into a landfill. And I find that a really incredible curation of our own identity. Like, this is no longer mine, it's going out into the world, and it can just go sit somewhere and decay. And I know a lot of people don't think about landfills, but I kind of do. And I really admire what happens as the sun bleaches the color, as the rain causes it to break down and like sink into the soil. And I know that that's very polluting, but I also find it kind of reassuring. Like, the great averager is time. So that's about me. I love coming to Joe's auction because he always says the most nice things about me. It's the best ego exercise that I can engage in without like paying someone. And Joe's always like the nicest person. So when he said, "Can I use all of your works, like every single one that you've ever liked in this book?" I was like, "Sure, okay." So the abandoned houses in Mississippi, my father keeps a kind of tabs on them. He lives out there. I was born there. And I find it's kind of a history project for him, like a local history, like making contact with these people, figuring out how we're related to them, because we are. And then, kind of making the introduction of, hey, my daughter would like to photograph and perhaps paint your property. And that's kind of a really cool vacation and buddy thing we do together, because otherwise we're just sitting there like going, okay, there's a lot of bugs. Yeah, it's hot. Sure is sweltering. But yeah, when I go out there, it's this really fun activity for the both of us to go do. And I also like to talk to all of his buddies that are also like really into this stuff now too. So it's kind of an interesting like cultural sneak in there. Yeah, so I try to do a couple paintings a year. My production has slowed way down because I have a responsible job and a kid. But I'm still trying to churn out giant works that are way too big for me, but the artist's greatest sin is hubris. So, whatever. Make more big stuff.
What's your name?
Lydia Rae Black.
Lydia, where in Mississippi?
It is near Meridian,
I'm from Laurel.
Oh, I love Laurel.
Gee.
Laurel is so cute. They have a really good museum. Okay, do you know Philadelphia?
Yes?
That's where I was born. So my dad lives in the Newton-Dixon area that's between Union and Philadelphia, and it's kind of like the weird triangle where you still can't buy liquor
That's right.
until you cross. It's a dry county until you cross the line, and yeah.
Do you know Horn Lake?
Horn Lake?
Horn Lake, Mississippi,
No.
right near Whitehaven.
That sounds like all of Mississippi.
That name's a little on the nose, buddy.
Actually, there's suburbs of Memphis.
Oh, the suburbs of Memphis? So
Yeah.
that's way north.
Yeah.
I've been over to Oxford a couple of times, like a cousin of mine owned property over there. It's
Right.
weird how many people in this room have know about Mississippi. It's like, did we all leave at the same time? Did we all just okay, it's 1984, let's get...
Sooner.
Okay, yeah.
Are there sites that you want to visit that you have yet to visit?
Yes, there's a couple that I've been working on locally in San Jose where I've called the real estate agent that's listed on the property and said, can I please come photograph your shit pile before they tear it down for apartments? And maybe it's the use of shit pile that kind of gets me hung up on. But one guy was like, why? And I explained the whole thing to him. I want to come in, make photographs, make paintings of it, and it'll be, I will not, I promise not to fall through the floor. I have a hard hat. I have my own steel toe shoes. And he said, yeah, I'm not going to be doing that. Thanks though, bye. Because real estate agents are kind of always like perky, I guess.
Do you know about Glass Beach in Mendocino County?
I have not been up there, yeah. I know about Glass Beach. I totally want to go there and just rake rocks into my car for no reason other than to piss off my husband. So yeah, this is me. I usually talk really fast in case this is a problem for you. I'm really sorry. There's just so much caffeine and so little time. Anything else?
Yeah, I was just wondering, you said that there's some people who are kind of confrontational actually about you coming onto their property and asking
Oh
about
yeah,
it, or-
there was a lady who thought I was from the government, and she came out of her trailer, and it was
The gun.
no, not with the gun, with the mole on her neck that I really had a hard time staring at. She was not nice in general, but her husband was this guy who repaired lawnmowers, and he just had a lawnmower graveyard. And I think that was what she was worried about, was that somebody from the government was going to come and question her about all the motor oil that has probably been seeping into the soil. But I don't care. I care, but I'm not here to say you got to dig up your yard and make everything super nice, because it's Mississippi.
Yes.
Yeah, my grandpa used to take motor oil that he'd taken out of the tractor and just pour it onto the driveway to kill the weeds. So
Keep the dust down. There was something to that.
Keep the dust down.
it does that too. It kills the weeds, kills the bugs, keeps the dust down. Wow, why wouldn't you pour oil into your driveway? So yeah,
I grew up in upstate New York, did that in the dirt roads. put the
At
road
Boulder
out.
Creek here, that's what we were doing up there.
there's a concept called soak, where an environment can kind of take on what people are dishing out, and it pretty much no matter what it is, as long as there's not a whole lot of people doing it. And in Mississippi, that's pretty true. There's not a huge problem with pollution because there's a lot less people. When you get other areas like manufacturing and mining and those kinds of things, then the runoff starts to kill the waterfowl and fish, yeah. And that's a big problem, but as far as my grandpa pouring motor oil into the driveway, it's not great, but we're not gonna really see, oh, here's the mutated thing that came out of this. And we're not gonna be able to point at it and say, Grandpa, you did that. So,
That's good.
I think
So I want to just say one thing, sort of to favor what's going on here, which is so wonderful. I'm so happy to see you again because I used to be in the studios there.
Okay.
And at that time, I bought a little painting of yours, which is in my home, and everyone who sees it says, wow, I mean, it has that same feeling as the one with the desks. It's in a sort of a kitchen.
Do you have Benji's kitchen?
Yes, I do.
I don't want that back. I want to take a better photo of it.
Well, we can
It is-
certainly do that.
Love that.
Well, yeah, I love it.
Did I
We
get
see
too
it
close to
every
the
day, it's in
microphones?
our lives, and everyone who comes in has a response to it. There is something very special that goes on.
That's one of my favorites. Benji sold that house to a lumber company and they just let it fall
No,
over.
oh no.
of the house was asbestos tile, and so this stuff that they made in the 70s, they never really thought it would be a problem, and then it started falling off of houses, and when you step on it, it's like, don't breathe at all, never again. So yeah, they knocked it over and just kind of left it. What's up?
Yeah, I want to ask a kind of thematic question.
Mm-hmm.
You start with representational stuff,
Yeah.
but you know that representation then becomes a metaphor for something that is, you know, maybe more personal or broader in some way. Can you talk about the kind
Like,
of thematic interest?
When I decide to just go abstract,
Well, you know, you're already abstract, you know,
Yeah.
you did something like that.
I think things decaying in general is a very abstract, like time-based concept. But when I'm making stuff up, I'm a lot more likely to just be like, this is a fun motion to make with the brush, and this is a fun color to put on there, and kind of just go with it for a while, and then step back and kind of worry a little bit about unification and some compositional principles that is frankly boring as, you know, sow's teeth. But when I'm working representationally, I could continue to remain tight and keep the colors exactly as they were and just be literal. Or I could be myself. Those are my two choices, because me, being me, I can't stop myself from saying, okay, but you know what would be really cool here is if I just wiped this out and made a pattern. So on the cover of the book is a really amazing house that I painted obsessively until they finally tore it down. Like, I think I painted like 16 paintings of it. I'm not even kidding. And on the back cover, I think, is where there's just a pattern section. And that is where I did not know how to solve the representational problem that was set up just by my photograph. It was too much green, it was too much foliage, and I said to myself, I have to do something to fix this, otherwise I'm going to be painting leaves until doomsday. And I'm going to be bored to tears, and I'm going to hate the painting. So I freshened it up by putting in a pattern. It was like kind of a piece of something that I remembered in my mom's house, and it's probably not accurate at all, but it's like the memory of when I was like 5 and looking at her 1970s cushions. So I don't know if that answered that. Welcome to my world. I like to say that I'm going abstract because abstract is more fun than reality. That might be just that I could paint really tightly and stay within those confines, but it's just uncomfortable. It starts to become a time-based venture where I'm sitting there going, I gotta punch this clock. I gotta get this in, I gotta do this, this is my list. And that is like, it's like work.
Yeah.
Walk away, do something else. Like, go figure out what color orange just trips your biscuit and stick it on there.
Right. And I know other painters, you know,
Yeah.
who go in for trompe l'oeil, you know, and they'll spend months on one
Yeah.
painting, you know, getting, you know, the shadows and the textures just
Are they
right.
engineers? Was their former career as an engineer or?
Art, you know, just an artist.
I can't, I've never been that person, but if you can't tell, I'm like pretty ADHD, like very hyper, sitting down and like staring at something, getting super tight, and every eyelash is not my deal. I can't probably
What
do
about the
it.
sea of those little tents people have here down by
That
the
makes me
bridges and
kind
stuff?
of too sad to paint it,
I know,
because
but it's really something.
yeah, it's really something, and I feel like I'm, and everybody else that is in my little tight group of Dungeons and Dragons nerds, that we're all about 2 months away from being in those tents. So I really feel for those people, and I don't think I could paint it because it's just too painful. I try to veer away from painting disaster porn. I try to kind of stay with the people left for reasons that are theirs. People left for reasons that weren't like influenced by massive external forces of like poverty or natural disasters. So while I end up painting some stuff that may have like had a tree fall through the roof, the family is like still living on the property and they have a trailer there because it was cheaper to get the trailer than it was to repair their roof. So I try to kind of keep away from Katrina in general, because that stuff's still laying around down there.
No, but I'm not, yeah, that's right. But like when you just see a whole sea of them,
Mm-hmm.
to me, they just look like geometric patterns.
Yeah.
That's like you're looking beyond what it really is.
I
But
could,
just the shape, that's how I'm looking at it, like even that.
it
that's how
is
I'm looking at
like
it.
really interesting to look at. I'm just not sure I could like sit down and
Yeah,
like
focus.
live with it for a
Yeah.
while. Like I kind of have the conversation with it that I want to have when I'm making a painting. So, yeah. Anybody else?
Thanks, Lydia.
You're welcome.